Welcome back to Into the Story. I am your host, Bree. In last week's episode, you heard Hilary's story. The build up to a promotion, the pressure to prove herself, and the moment that she realized that she didn't want to keep playing the same game. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, I recommend going back and starting there first. In this bonus episode, we move into what came next. Hilary reflects on the conversations that she didn't have, the boundaries she didn't set, and how saying yes too quickly shaped the outcome. Together, we explore why difficult conversations are so hard, how hesitation turns into avoidance, and what it really takes to show up clearly when something important is at stake. Okay, let's get into my conversation with Hilary.
I'd realized that I hadn't faced in to having the difficult conversations that were needed at the time that reflected my intentions, that reflected my needs, and that set boundaries for my both professional, emotional, and home lives. And that what I had done was said yes too quickly. I had said yes to so many things without properly representing myself in those agreements. And the deeper reflection came later in this, but that moment was that I too had responsibility in why this had failed. Or I was responsible for avoiding difficult conversations that could have, it may not have guaranteed me to get the job, but it would have put me in a much better position had I had those to manage myself and to have something to stand on afterwards.
I think about your red shoes, and I think about that symbol of this moment that a lot of us will come to at one point in time in our lives of really wanting something or really not wanting something, and then ultimately not getting what we hoped for. And that deep nostalgia and sadness and despair of things just not turning out the way we thought they would. But but also in the same breath of this idea of the red shoes, also how in our interactions with one another, I think the conversations that we have where we really want something or we really don't want something are really difficult to deal with. When you want a promotion more than anything, when you are hungry for it, you can't say, yeah, well, but actually I have to drop my son off in the morning, so I'm going to be arriving late for those important meetings on Friday mornings. We don't say those things, right? What do you think?
Well, I think some people are better at managing boundaries and communicating needs than others. Even under pressure, even faced with an irresistible opportunity like what I was faced with. I think that where we can be wired quite differently in those moments to prepare for those moments. For me personally, and I know, and I see this in my line of work as well with the leaders that I work with, a lot of people when they're faced with a difficult conversation or a fantastic opportunity, either jump into it without thinking about it and what their needs and boundaries might look like and being able to communicate them, or hesitate for a difficult conversation. They hesitate, they stumble because they're thinking about too many different things at the same time. And then hesitation leads to avoidance, where you don't have those conversations. And I think for me in this moment where I missed this promotion was both. I I didn't properly set up and communicate my intentions, needs, and boundaries around this interim job or this acting role at the beginning. And I was also very very quick to accept without questioning the offer, the initial offer. I was too keen. I was actually operating from a perspective of fear that he might withdraw it or that it might not come around again, and I wanted to grab it. And that was the urgency, I think, that really drove me to be the yes woman for that job and in that moment.
And so I understand that now that the work that you do, you now have a coaching and consulting business. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you work with leader in the field of leadership communication.
Yes.
And so how do you help leaders have these difficult conversations, especially when they're trying to lead a team through conflict or change, uncertainty, these difficult moments?
So often the leaders that I talk to, and they range in levels. A lot of them are quite senior, but some of them are emerging as well. And conversations are often around facing into difficult conversations, whether that's a conflict in the workplace, whether that's a change that's occurring that they need to communicate to their team, or whether it's uncertainty and or disruption, like the introduction of AI systems and the impact of roles in teams in the workplace at the moment. And those conversations often are around hesitation, because leaders hesitate to communicate, and hesitation can often be misread as lack of confidence, that they themselves, the leaders, aren't confident in themselves, or their colleagues they believe their colleagues don't have confidence in them and their decision-making capability. And when we start to drill down, that it's not really a confidence a piece for them, because they often know what needs to be said to be said in the moment. They often know the outcome that they're trying to achieve. They often know that the situation matters. It's more that they have a lot of things going on in their head at the time. They've got too many responsibilities, and they show up as the responsibility for the relationship, the responsibility for the outcome that they want and what the other person or team members may want, the power dynamics at play, and also for their internal the emotions that they're feeling as well in the moment. And that this hesitation arises because of all of these different things that are at play, as opposed to a lack of confidence, that they don't know how to execute, or they don't know what they want. They often do know what they want, but they're managing these competing priorities at the same time.
I'm thinking about, even because of course the workplace it's a system, it's a construct, and all of us have different roles and we communicate with each other inside the system, but also a family is a system, or a group of friends is another system. And I think a lot of us probably have more conversations in those domains. For example, having a difficult conversation with a friend. How can people... Imagine there's a person right now who knows they need to have a conversation with a friend. What are tools that they can use to approach that conversation? What would you recommend to them?
Yeah, so with my clients, I usually talk about three things. Uh, three areas of focus for them, practically speaking. The first one is pause before anything, and think about the body. The second one is intent, and the third one is what emotions you might be carrying for the other person. So in the first one, the body, it's where you're feeling the tension in your body in relation to the conversation that you're about to have right now. Where do you feel it? And focusing on that.
When I'm going to have a difficult conversation or I am dealing with anything, I always feel it like in the center of my chest. Always. Do you find that most people have that same, or is it always different?
Well, chest can be hard. Like chest can be hard. So
Right.
that it's in that it's something that really impacts your heart, meaning a deep emotion. Other people feel it in the lower back. I mean, for me, I know that I feel it in the upper, the neck and the upper back, but I have also felt it in the lower back. But usually it's somewhere in the torso. And but I get clients to think about where they're feeling the tension and to focus on that through a brief meditation, but to focus on the relief of that, to try to shift that from the body. And then the second point is to think about the intention. What is your intention for the conversation? And it might not be to solve the whole problem. Well, I often advise that not this way, but to solve the whole issue at hand. It's what is your intention for this conversation? What does this conversation require of you? And what is the outcome that you're trying to achieve from just this conversation? And this should be something like a one-liner or a couple of words. And that helps to focus in on breaking things down, not sitting in large emotions, but breaking them down to something that could be an output.
I think about, for me, a conversation that I need to have that I know where I feel that tension. So for me, something I could do would be an extended exhale. So a few breaths of 4 seconds and then exhaling 8 seconds, for example.
Yes.
I know that would release tension. And then I think of having a conversation with this person, and I think in the one conversation, I would just want them to understand my point of view. Not force them into it, but maybe clarify a few things, not agree with it, but just understand cognitively, right? Like really know the facts of my point of view. Okay, so that would be the number 2. And then what would be the number 3?
So the number 3, which is often quite a big one, although this can sometimes also depend on personality as well, but carrying the emotions of others and preempting or trying to, you carry the emotions and then you preempt or you attempt to manage those in the conversation. And this can be a very big stumbling block and a reason why hesitation moves into avoidance, because it's very it's difficult to manage somebody's emotions from afar that are not yours, let alone managing your own emotions. And looking at and in this point 3, it's really identifying what is it that you're carrying that's not yours, of this other person or group of people. Trying to identify what that is and letting it go, because you can't manage somebody else's emotions. I guess you can influence them, but they're responsible and they're the ones that are ultimately in control of that. And if you try to do that, then your energy goes towards trying to manage something that's effectively out of your control, and less of that energy goes on to managing you and what's in your control, and thinking through how you can be present in that moment, in that discussion, moving towards the intention that you want for that particular conversation.
Yeah, I love that number 3, because I think what we can sometimes, I'll speak for myself, I sometimes mistake for empathy is in fact exactly what you're saying, me trying to control or carry the other person's feelings. And it's not my job to carry it, nor is it my role. It's they're completely capable. They're another capable adult, and especially in the workplace, of owning and being responsible for their own feelings. And in fact, in these difficult conversations, we need all of our energy, all of our brain power just to manage what we're saying and dealing with the outcome and dealing with our own body experience, never mind trying to control someone else.
Yes, and we might get what we think that we might be trying to control may not actually be what the other person is experiencing. So we might be trying to control something that actually doesn't exist.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Hilary, for this conversation. It was very insightful. I loved hearing your story and this difficult conversation that you had. And then these points that you've given us are really, really useful tools. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you.
If this conversation has you reflecting on how you approach difficult conversations at work, or how you show up during conflict, change, or uncertainty, Hilary has a short practical guide on conflict communication in high-stakes situations. You can visit her website, hilarysutton.co, and I will leave you a link in the show notes. And if you're not yet on my newsletter, you can sign up at intostory.com. That's where I share stories and practical tools to help you speak so people listen. Okay, until next time, I hope that you have a good time, or at least a good story to tell.